Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Breaking news this noon, a convicted murderer is on the run in Orange County. What we have learned in the last 30 minutes about the search for Ramon Alston.
And I'm tracking showers that are moving closer to our viewing areas. Some of those are fizzling out. I'll show you how much rain you may see this afternoon.
And new evacuation orders this noon for a Greek seaside town as crews race to control a deadly wildfire. How European nations are pitching in to save the Greek capital.
We have breaking news this noon. The search for an escaped murderer is entering its 5th hour right now. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey in for Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. This is the man that law enforcement is hunting down right now. Ramon Alston is serving a life sentence for the Christmas 2015 death of 1-year-old Malia Williams. Alston escaped custody while being transported to a medical appointment in Hillsborough.
And that is where we find WRAL's Destiny Patterson. Destiny, we understand the Sheriff's Office and Department of Corrections just held a joint news conference. What did you take away from that?
Jeff, just in the last 30 minutes, we've gotten an update from law enforcement, and I want you to take a look at the scene here. We are at Durham Tech Community College, the Orange County campus. You can see just how many law enforcement cars and units are out here. This is where they are hosting their operational center. You can see they have state troopers as well as several other agencies that are out here assisting in this search. They tell us that Alston actually never made it inside of the hospital for his appointment, and they describe him as unpredictable. They say at this point now they have statewide alerts looking for Alston. They say that he ran into the wooded areas that are around here as well as the hospital. They wouldn't say what he was actually going to the hospital for, though. They say that he broke away from officers while still in handcuffs and even pushed an officer down to the ground. That officer is expected to be okay. They also say that he has family and friend connections here. So given the location of where all of this is unfolding, they say that they can't say whether this was planned or not. They did say that they are putting all of the resources that they can towards finding him, though.
In many ways, this is coordinated like a missing person in that we have a perimeter, we have resources, we deploy them, we track who's been where and what's been searched, then we search that area again.
I want you to take another look. This is 30-year-old Ramon Alston. He was last seen wearing heather gray, a T-shirt and heather gray, brown khaki pants, and he may have on white boxers or white gym shorts. So if you see him, they say to reach out to law enforcement. At this point, they tell us they have no idea where he is at this point. And I asked if they were widening their search perimeter. And at this point, they tell me that they, again, are looking for him statewide, and they'll continue to look. We're expecting to get another update from law enforcement in about an hour and a half. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News, Orange County.
One of the women hurt Sunday in a shooting involving 4 people, including a little girl, is now home from the hospital and recovering. Micaiah Page, this is her right here wearing this Stay Focused T-shirt here. Her aunt sent us this photo, and also as the family and friends of the mother and daughter who were killed in Wilson County are mourning their deaths. A GoFundMe account has been set up by family and friends of Kiera Massenberg, has already raised nearly $18,000. Organizers say the money will help ease the burden of funeral costs and other expenses. A statement on the GoFundMe page reads, Kiera was a devoted mother, a cherished friend, and a pillar of strength for all who knew her. Her child, Zoe, was a bright and innocent soul who brought joy and love into the lives of everyone they met. The bond they shared was unbreakable, and their loss leaves an irreplaceable void in the hearts of those who loved them. You can find a link to the GoFundMe page in this story on WRAL.com.
Scattered showers and storms are making their way through our area and are expected to linger throughout the afternoon. Elizabeth Gardner here in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with how much rain we're expected to get.
This time it's going to be fairly light. You know, we had the pattern really that kicked off last week where we ended up with all of that heavy rain with Debbie. And then over the weekend, we continued to have thunderstorms that were producing heavy rain. This is a little bit of a different setup. That was all because of a stationary front, at least the weekend storms were. This is a disturbance that's dropping down from just to our north and west. And as this moves across our viewing area, it's moving into a bit of a drier air mass. And so as it moves eastward, a lot of this leading edge is fizzling out. And I went through and I looked at all of our cameras, and I didn't see any water on the camera lens, or I didn't see any wet streets either. So as this moves eastward, it's really struggling to make itself known. A few isolated showers are showing up there in Person County, and then back over there into Franklin County as well. But we'll continue to watch it. It doesn't look heavy really at all through the afternoon. You can see just these isolated showers. Here's 3 o'clock. We move it ahead to 5 o'clock. It wouldn't be out of the question to see an isolated thunderstorm, but I wouldn't expect to see any long-term heavy rain out of this system. It is gray out there, though. We take a live look here at our tower camera in eastern Wake County, looking off to the west. It is 82 degrees, but this is what's making it feel a bit more comfortable. Our dew point is in the 60s. It is in the mid 60s, and if we could drop it on down into the low 60s, it would be an even more noticeable difference. But we will see our dew points becoming pretty moderate over the next few days. I'm going to show you that coming up hour by hour, and talk about how much better it may feel the next few days. Our highs this afternoon will be in the mid 80s. We're also watching Tropical Storm Ernesto, which by tomorrow may end up being a Category 1 hurricane and then Category 2. It does sit off the coast of North Carolina, not making landfall, but we will have some impacts here. I'll show you coming up.
Chris Lovingood here in the WRAL Life Center, still trying to keep our eye out for more information regarding Vice President Kamala Harris coming to Raleigh this Friday. A source with the Harris campaign confirmed that for us within the past 2 hours. I'll tell you what, right here, this is a snapshot of our website, WRAL.com, the article we have here. And I show you this as a reminder that once we know specifically when she'll be here in town and what exactly she'll be talking about, that is when we'll update on our website, WRAL.com. It's not quite clear, though, if her running mate, Tim Walz, will be there, but we'll, of course, be looking for all kinds of updates here in the WRAL Live Center.
All right, thanks, Chris. Former President Donald Trump returns to North Carolina tomorrow. He'll make a campaign stop at Harris Cherokee Center in Asheville, where he's expected to focus on the economy. Doors open at 1 o'clock, and the rally is set to begin at 4. Trump is no stranger to Western North Carolina. He held a rally there in downtown Asheville ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Trump returned during his re-election bid in 2020 and also made an unpublicized stop in July of 2023. And Cornel West can run for president in North Carolina. A federal judge ruled overnight. That means voters will have even more choices come November. WRAL reported yesterday Robert F. Kennedy Jr. also won a lawsuit to be allowed to run for president here. Polls show Republican Donald Trump's lead in North Carolina narrowing and Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris gaining support. For more on how West and Kennedy could affect the race for president, go to the NC Capitol section of WRAL.com.
Johnston County is preparing for an influx of new students, and this morning, crews and county officials held a groundbreaking ceremony for a new high school being built there. Wilson's Mills High School is being built on Talton Farm Road. It's on the east side of town. It'll be the 12th high school in what's become one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. Mayor Fleta Bird graduated from the old Wilson's Mill High, and known as the Green Wave there. It was torn down in 1969. Bird thanked county commissioners for bringing back that school. The project will cost just shy of $100 million.
And to know that it's inside Wilson's Mills, they brought the high school back. And that is the most wonderful thing to me. When they first talked about it, I told them, I said, you better name it Green Waves and you better name it Wilson Mills.
Naysayer is
The school will be funded by the county's 2022 school bond referendum and will serve 2,300 students. The goal is to finish construction by June of 2026.
And covering Wake County, the start of the traditional school year is 2 weeks from today. Schools are considering security upgrades to ensure that your child's safe inside the classroom. The County Board of Commissioners and Board of Education held a joint meeting on the topic yesterday. Some of the notable new recommendations include consistent door locking mechanisms and shatterproof glass. The district also recently started enforcing a clear bag policy for events. It also has the anonymous reporting app Say Something and the Rave Panic Button app.
School system is working very hard. They're very committed. They've done their due diligence, a deep dive into finding the best resources to keep our schools safe.
Weapons detection systems were also listed as an idea for school leaders to consider, but they were not discussed at last night's meeting.
A deadly and fast-spreading wildfire tore through several neighborhoods close to the Greek capital of Athens Monday. New evacuations were issued this morning for people who live in at least one area near that capital. NBC's Kelly Kobiea spoke with Americans visiting that region.
Flames shooting more than 80 feet into the air as a fast-moving and unpredictable wildfire closed in on the Greek capital of Athens overnight. The ancient buildings that make the city a tourist hotspot, with more than 1 million Americans visiting every year, in the path.
I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a fire like this or clouds like we've seen all over Greece.
Susan Nesmith and her husband from Alabama saw the fire when they arrived Sunday.
We couldn't believe all the smoke and just literally so close to us, and just a giant smoke cloud that almost looked like a mushroom cloud from a bomb or something.
The fire forcing evacuations, burning homes and businesses, turning hotels into shelters. At least one person has died, more than a dozen treated for burns and breathing problems. The smoke and fire closing in on Monday. Kate and Ryan Swarthout from California capturing this in Greece to celebrate their daughter's college graduation.
And while we were here, we received emergency alerts on our phones, which was both concerning and comforting at the same time.
This satellite image showing the size, the fire scorching 25,000 acres. This morning, warnings for children, pregnant women, and the elderly to be extra cautious because of the smoke.
The smoke was bad. We did really smell it yesterday, and we could see it obviously in the air for the last few days, but it did not change our travel plans at all.
That was Kelly Kobiea reporting. At least 6 European countries have responded to Greece's request for assistance, including France.
This afternoon, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will take part in a cancer moonshot event in Louisiana. Both will deliver remarks on how the Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health is fast-tracking progress in how we prevent, treat, and detect cancer. Their leadership has delivered significant results to achieve ambitious and achievable goals. The initiative hopes to reduce the cancer death rate by at least half in the U.S. by 2047.
Last week it was a dive. This week a rebound as we take a look at stocks this noon. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 273 points right now. NASDAQ doing a little better, up over 300 right now. S&P 500 also up over 60 points. All the major indices in positive territory.
Next at noon, an FBI investigation into an altercation between an Arkansas police officer and a prisoner. What happened in the back of this patrol car?
Also, new rules for dining out in New York, where you might be able to be put on the clock there to wrap up your meal, and why restaurants are doing this.
Plus, at 12:30, we check back in on the search for escaped murderer Ramon Alston, where the investigation stands right now.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Welcome back on your Tuesday afternoon. 12:14 is the time as you look live over Carolina Beach, a busy Carolina Beach. You're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
The FBI is investigating a violent interaction between an officer and an inmate inside a patrol car. It was all caught on camera, and we want to warn you, some of the video you're about to see is disturbing to watch. This inmate reportedly left the hospital while waiting to be taken to another state on felony escape charges. The officers found him nearby, and while in the back of the squad car, the inmate repeated that he had fentanyl in his system and he needed to go back to the hospital where he had just escaped.
Sir, will you please listen to me? I have got fentanyl inside of me. Last night, I swallowed. It's in aluminum foil, wrapped up. It's in a baggie, it's in aluminum foil, individually wrapped up in aluminum foil.
This all happened in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The video shows that inmate wiggling around in the back of the car, wrapping the seatbelt around his neck, and that's when the officer got out of the vehicle and began to beat him. The chief says he released the footage in the interest of full transparency.
This officer had conduct that was unbecoming, unprofessional, and it was conduct that I'm not going to tolerate, and the consequence is he was terminated.
The inmate was treated for injuries and now faces third-degree escape charge. His next court date is September 27th.
Opening statements are underway in the trial of a Florida woman charged with shooting her neighbor through her own locked and bolted front door. Susan Lawrence is charged with manslaughter and has pleaded not guilty. Investigators learned that Lawrence had been feuding with the family for months because a group of children liked to play in an open area near her apartment. On June 2nd of last year, she threw a roller skate at one of them. Their mother, A.J. Owens, confronted her. Deputies say that Lawrence shot her through the door, striking her in the chest. And a man is recovering in the hospital after he was attacked near a New York synagogue. His attacker has now been charged with a hate crime. This happened in Brooklyn. Video shows a group of men wearing traditional Jewish clothing walking down the street when they're approached by a man who lunges at them. The man then repeatedly stabs one of them. Police say the man shouted, "Free Palestine and do you want to die?" as he carried out that attack. The 22-year-old man was later charged with a hate crime. The victim is in stable condition.
USA Gymnastics says it will continue to appeal the process on behalf of Jordan Childs as she fights to retain her bronze Olympic medal. The Court of Arbitration says it will not reconsider its ruling that would force Childs to give it back. And this was in the floor final. It's unclear how long it could take for the whole appeal to work through arbitration. It's unclear if Childs has already returned the medal. Childs' case is unusual because in the past, athletes have been stripped of their medals when the International Olympic Committee finds evidence of things like illegal substance abuse. Rapper Flavor Flav is offering Childs a unique prize in the wake of this medal controversy. Flav is making sure the Olympic spirit lives on, so he took to X to show off his custom bronze clock necklace to replace the medal she's forced to give up during that appeals process. The medal-sized timepiece is encrusted with diamonds.
Very nice gift from Flavor Flav. Wow. All right, let's get over to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner, the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Not seeing any rain here yet in Raleigh, Elizabeth, but some of our northern counties are starting to see it.
You know, it's showing up on the radar here in a number of places. But if you notice, as you watch this loop, you know, it looks a little more, there's just more coverage back to the west. And then as it moves into our viewing area, it's fizzling a little bit. And the reason for that is the air mass is just a little bit drier here than it is back to the west. And, you know, we've had enough rain. We don't really need any more rain, but we are seeing a good bit of cloud cover, and we'll likely have just some light showers, especially as we get into the afternoon and we get into a little bit more daytime heating. We warm the atmosphere up just a little bit more. It can hold more moisture and give off more moisture too. So we may end up with a few more showers. Looking like we could, you know, start to see a little shower there next, maybe in Hillsborough. I looked at the camera at Roxborough. It did not look like we'd gotten much rain out of that little sprinkle that rolled by. And here's a look at Futurecast. It does look like the coverage picks up a little bit later this afternoon, but it's still going to be light. We'd be talking about 1/10 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch at the most, possibly a thunderstorm, but more likely this is just going to be some cloud cover and a sprinkle or two that rolls through. Futurecast for tomorrow morning looks mainly clear. So does lunchtime and into the afternoon. There's 5 o'clock. So we should have a nice bright day tomorrow. There's the potential for an isolated thunderstorm. Just in this pattern, we can't completely rule it out. But it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice day tomorrow. It'll be below normal in terms of the high, and our humidity drops off a bit too. We take a look at our tall tower camera as we look west across Wake County. 82 degrees, and the dew point is 67. It's not terrible. It'd be nice to drop it down to about 63, which we may do tomorrow. 84 in Raleigh, 83 Durham, and 87 in Fayetteville. There's a look at that muggy meter. And Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to knock it right back down here to tolerable, and that's going to feel, it should be like low to mid 60s for dew points. That's going to feel a lot more comfortable. It is short-lived. It is August. We jump back up to tropical by Saturday, but as much of a tropical air mass as we have had with us for the last 5 or 6 days, it is nice to have this break. And we see it reflected in the morning lows too. 69 is our normal low, 67 tomorrow morning, mid 60s Thursday and Friday, and then back into the 70s by the weekend. 89 is our normal high. We're going to keep it below 89 all the way through the weekend. We have a chance again of showers and thunderstorms on Saturday and Sunday. Durham Bulls have a home stand with all sorts of fun going on each day. It's something different. And of course, over the weekend, it's fireworks. And tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday look good. Game time temperatures will be mainly in the mid 80s and then falling pretty quickly. Our sunset is a bit earlier now than it was, even a month ago. So we'll cool off pretty quickly, and there's just a very small chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Checking out these temperatures, thinking those morning lows are going to look great. We do have the potential for an isolated thunderstorm on Saturday or Sunday. If you're planning to head to the beach Saturday or Sunday, stay tuned. We're going to talk about what some of the impacts from Ernesto could be for our coast.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. Coming up today on WRAL News at 4, people who go to the DMV are experiencing long wait times, and the tools they're putting in place to help are not helping. We'll hear from customers who say they've waited multiple hours and they're just fed up.
Plus, a new report shows an alarming murder rate in Raleigh, how the number of violent crimes have changed from this time last year, and how it compares to other major U.S. cities. Still ahead this noon, trying to cancel an unwanted subscription can leave you feeling a bit trapped. Coming up, how the White House is stepping in to make the process easier.
And getting a table in some big cities can be pretty difficult sometimes. Now some suggest setting a timer on customers.
Good afternoon, Chris Loving in here in the WRAL Life Center. A very big update we've learned within the past hour from state commerce leaders that a new employer is setting up shop in Raleigh, adding 200 high-paying jobs. We're talking by 2029. This is Jewelers Mutual Insurance. They're expected to pay an average annual salary of almost $170,000 and invest roughly $6 million into the area here. Just for illustration, this is a look at their social media page on Instagram. But we have learned that commerce officials are saying they approved an incentive package worth roughly $3.2 million. Officials saying the company actually was considered expanding into Dallas, but Raleigh is the one that won.
The White House is proposing new rules that would make it easier for customers to cancel unwanted subscriptions. The FTC is finalizing the proposed rule known as Click to Cancel. The rules are meant to cover all subscriptions, from streaming services to gym memberships. President Biden's administration says companies make canceling subscriptions difficult on purpose to keep customers from dropping their services. Olympic bronze medalist and WNBA player Darica Hamby is suing the league and her former team, the Los Angeles Aces. Hamby claims she was the subject of repeated acts of intimidation, discrimination, and retaliation. It all led to Hamby's trade to the Sparks in January of 2023 when she was pregnant with her second child. The WNBA investigated Hamby's claims of discrimination in 2023. Aces coach Becky Hammond was suspended 2 games for violating league and team policies.
A new trend is gaining traction at New York City restaurants to help accommodate more customers, setting timers on dining times. Gone are the days of subtle hints like an early check or waiters asking if you need anything else. Now some establishments are instituting firm time limits on reservation apps, notifying customers they have 90 minutes at a table. He's on board with a growing trend. Other restaurants are hopping on, imposing 90-minute dining limits on their customers.
For us, the goal is I want you to have a good time, but I need to turn that table. If I'm not turning that table 2-3 times a night, I'm not making any money.
Yeah, some customers are on board with the change, noting that it could help them get a table at a desired restaurant, while others say they're okay with it as long as they receive advance notification.
Still to come this noon, right now authorities are still searching for an inmate who escaped from UNC Hospital's Hillsborough campus. The new details, we are learning about what happened.
And now is the time to talk to children about the harms of bullying and how to prevent it. Coming up, how you can help the school year get off to a healthy start, both mentally and physically. And as we head to break, here are your winning lottery numbers. Good luck.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
We continue to follow that breaking news that we first reported on our morning news. A man convicted of murdering a 1-year-old girl is on the run.
Ramon Alston is serving a life sentence for the Christmas 2015 death of 1-year-old Malia Williams. Alston escaped custody while being transported to a medical appointment. And WRAL's Destiny Patterson joins us live outside Durham Tech Community College in Orange County. Destiny.
Jeff, yeah, we're standing outside. This is where the law enforcement are holding their operational center. I want you to take a look at this row of law enforcement out here. These are just some of the agencies that are assisting in this search. We're just across the street from that hospital. And I want to walk you through how all of this happened. Law enforcement tells us that Olson was coming for a medical appointment. They wouldn't elaborate on what he needed to be seen for. And as they were pulling up, before they ever even made it into the hospital, he broke away and even pushed one of the officers down. So they've been out here using helicopters, canines, trying their best to find him because they believe he's in one of the wooded areas that's around the hospital and this school here. They also say that he has family and friend connections in the area. So that I asked law enforcement if they believed that this was planned, and they tell me at this point they're not sure. We did also get an update from them about an hour ago. We're expecting to get another one of those in about the next hour or so as they continue to update us. They tell us that he was last seen wearing a heather gray t-shirt, brown khaki pants, and he may have on white boxers or black gym shorts. At this point, they tell us they're not sure exactly where he is. And in fact, at this point, they have sent out statewide alerts looking for Olson. We'll continue to keep you updated as we learn more out here and as the search progresses. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News, Orange County.
It's disturbing. He's still on the loose. Today, Sharpsburg Mayor Robert Williams is expected in court on his latest DWI charge. Williams was arrested July 1st after he was pulled over in Rocky Mount. A viewer sent us this video showing that arrest. Williams was charged with DWI, driving with a revoked license, having an open container of alcohol, and violating a concealed handgun permit. This was his third DWI charge since December and his fourth in 4 years. It was back in 2018, the night he was elected. He was charged with DWI as well.
The FBI is investigating reported cyber attacks on both the Trump and Harris campaigns after the former president's team says private documents were obtained by Iranian hackers and sent to media outlets. As Rebecca Castor shows us, a potential cyber attack is also being blamed for nearly shutting down the former president's big interview with Elon Musk on X last night.
My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers.
Elon Musk's interview with former President Donald Trump on X Monday night did not go according to plan. It was delayed 40 minutes after Musk says cyber hackers flooded their servers.
There's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say.
Musk did not provide details on the source of the alleged attack, but it comes just days after Trump's campaign announced it was targeted by a cyber attack, where internal documents, including vetting materials on J.D. Vance, were stolen and sent to reporters. Trump's team blamed Iran, and while Iran's leadership at the UN denied involvement, the State Department is watching closely.
These latest attempts to interfere in U.S. elections are nothing new for the Iranian regime.
The Washington Post reports staffers on the Harris campaign were also targeted with phishing emails. But Harris's team says it's unaware of any successful security breaches.
No matter what, if you're on the left, if you're on the right, you can bet that these kinds of attacks are going to be coming at American politics from now until the November election.
That was Rebecca Castor reporting. Politico, The Washington Post, and The New York Times all reported receiving the stolen Trump campaign files. Trump's team strongly discouraged any outlet from reprinting the documents, saying they would be doing the bidding of America's enemies.
Democratic candidate for state superintendent Mo Green is expressing concerns about his opponent, Republican Michelle Morrow, specifically saying she is not fit for office. Green said that during an interview with CNN. This happened after a video of Morrow surfaced. She called for then-President Donald Trump to, quote, set the Constitution aside and use the military to stay in power.
Number one, I think this is deeply disturbing. Number two, I think it's incredibly dangerous. And number three, I think this calls into question whether my opponent can even uphold the U.S. Constitution as she would be required to do if she's elected.
Now, here's that video Green is referring to. Morrow made this following the statement here following the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol.
You will have to enact the Insurrection Act, in which case the Insurrection Act completely puts the Constitution to the side and says, now the military rules all. Okay? And let me tell you, President Trump has the military on his side.
Morrow's a registered nurse and activist who homeschooled her children. She says she's a champion of parents' rights and opposes critical race theory. Green is a former superintendent. He says he's a champion for public education and wants to work to improve public schools if he's elected.
Coming up, school is back. Why educators say parents should check in on their kids' mental health, especially focusing on bullying, and what to do if they're caught up in it.
Plus, the Paris Olympics have come to an end, and NBC Universal is soaring after clocking millions of viewers. We'll tell you what the most watched sporting event was. Meantime, our team is working to bring you exclusive stories. For coverage you'll find only on WRAL, visit WRAL.com and search only.
This afternoon, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will take part in a cancer moonshot event in Louisiana, and both will deliver remarks on how the Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health is fast-tracking progress in how we prevent, treat, and detect cancer. Their leadership has delivered significant results to achieve ambitious and achievable goals. The initiative hopes to reduce the cancer death rate by at least half in the U.S. by 2047. And children who have too much screen time could grow to have temper issues. That's according to a new pediatric study of more than 300,000 preschool children. Researchers found that children who have used tablets at 3.5 years old are more likely to show anger and frustration than others. They could also have greater emotional problems later. Pediatricians urge that while there are educational apps, electronics should not be used as pacifiers.
It may take more than a quick rinse to get pesticides off your produce. A study published in the American Chemical Society journals found pesticides likely stay on fruits and vegetables after they're washed with water. That's because they found pesticides can penetrate the peel and pulp layer of produce. Peeling fruits and vegetables may reduce the ingestion of those pesticides. A third person has died from a listeria outbreak affecting 13 states, including North Carolina. Since May, 43 people have been hospitalized with the listeria infection. The food poisoning led to the recall of more than 7 million pounds of boar's head deli meats. Many of the products are meant to be sliced at grocery store counters and prepackaged meats. If you have these products, you should throw them away.
A kayaker is sharing his close encounter with a shark in Half Moon Bay.
You all right?
Yeah. It's gonna start moving in.
Okay. I'm gonna follow you, okay?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a little close for comfort. Reaction to the rare encounter in the Pacific.
Families are busy checking off items on their child's supply list, but experts say parents should also be checking on their kids' mental health. We'll look at the impacts of bullying and how to prevent it.
As students prepare for an academic year that's hopefully filled with learning and excitement, psychology experts say if your child is the target of bullying, it can dramatically affect their mental and physical well-being.
Kevin Cork takes a closer look at how you can help prevent harm.
Are you guys excited about going back to school?
Yes.
While the opinions are mixed, one thing is certain. Back to school season is ramping up.
Pencils, markers, crayons.
But while folks are busy checking off items on their child's supply list, educators say parents should also be checking on their kids' mental health, especially focusing on the impacts of bullying and how to prevent it.
It can be relational, it can be verbal, it can be physical, and verbal is the most common type. But over the last 15 years, we've also seen electronic or cyberbullying emerge.
Robin Kowalski, psychology professor at Clemson University, says bullying typically starts early on.
The highest prevalence rates of bullying victimization are actually in elementary school.
She also says some common characteristics of a bully include:
they feel it's okay to use force to get what they want. They often feel like the rules don't apply to them.
While parents should be looking out for warning signs that their child is a victim, including marks on their body or them withdrawing from school activities and their phone, Kowalski cites a new phenomenon called psychological mattering as a means of making students feel less alone and like they have to pick on others to feel important.
Students need to be made to feel like they matter, that they are important or significant to other people.
This is Kevin Cork reporting. The CDC says bullying can increase a person's risk of depression and anxiety, and it can lower a student's academic performance.
Home video camera footage captures the moment a 4.4 magnitude earthquake hits the LA area. The jolt elicited a few screams and sent frightened pets scrambling. Some minor damage was reported in Pasadena, only a few miles from the epicenter. The Los Angeles Fire Department confirmed that so far there have been no reports of damage or injuries.
A sixth grade teacher has quite a tale to share with his students about summer break. Two men were paddling off the coast of California when a shark started following one of them. His friends stayed close and continued recording. They say the white shark was bigger than their kayaks, which are about 13 feet long. One of the kayakers is a teacher and says he realizes the encounter could have gone south, but describes them as peaceful and curious creatures.
And we watched it kind of go back around and start following me. And we just tried to keep each other calm and not give any reason for, a reaction from the shark, and just led it towards some seals, and it eventually just let us go.
There he is.
Yeah, that shark followed them for about 5 minutes before then swimming away to go find those seals.
Yeah, I don't know how I would have stayed calm in a moment like that. I know it's so important to stay calm, but that's a little nerve-wracking. Yeah. All right, meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking some rain moving towards the area. But interestingly enough, Elizabeth, you said it's starting to kind of dry up as it gets here. Yeah, we have a fairly dry air mass in place. I was out walking around just for a couple of minutes about 2 hours ago. And, it just feels pleasant out there. We've had a little bit of a drop in our dew point. It hasn't been a huge drop, but it's made a nice difference out there. But what's happening now is we're seeing this rain with this disturbance back to the west. And as it's moving into our area, at least the leading edge of this is fizzling out. But we are beginning to see a few cells getting a little beefier looking. We'll zoom in here and over around Siler City, and then again just south of Chapel Hill. Watch those just start to bloom. At the beginning of the newscast, I did mention the fact that, as we get into the afternoon and the temperatures warm up a little bit, we may have a better chance of seeing a few of these isolated cells developing. No lightning with this just yet, but there could be a few of these that produce some lightning. And, this will continue to slide eastward. We'll be dealing with this up until around sunset. And then after that, that should be the end of it. This front was stationary, sitting over the southern part of the viewing area over the weekend and even yesterday, and that produced some thunderstorms that had some heavy rain associated with them. Since that is now to the south, it's allowed this disturbance to move in, and that's kind of the back edge of it here, which is going to be around the Triad to Charlotte, and that will continue to slide eastward across our viewing area as we get through the afternoon. So here's the way that looks on Futurecast. That coverage increases the rain increases in intensity and in coverage by between 3 and 5 o'clock, and by 8 or 9 o'clock, that's pretty much the end of it. And we should be pretty dry behind that on Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, we have a small chance of a thunderstorm, and then Saturday, it's a little better chance. But you definitely don't need to do any watering. Boy, we have had enough water. Can you believe this right now is on track to be the wettest summer on record at RDU? No one would have imagined that in June when everything was drying out. The grass was drying out. We had plants, trees dying out there. An inch and a quarter was what we were behind for the month of June. And for July, we were 5 inches above normal. And so far for August, we're 2 inches above normal. So we really turned that around quite a bit. It's so much so that, of course, we have some flooding because of all the rain from Debbie. So it looks like tomorrow morning, the Tar River at Rocky Mount will come down below flood stage. And then Friday afternoon, the Tar at Tarboro and the Noose at Goldsboro will come down below flood stage, along with the Black River at Tomahawk. But the Lumber River at Lumberton won't fall below major flood stage until Thursday, and it's likely to stay at flood stage probably for maybe 2 more weeks. And that is where we saw the worst flooding, in our general area. We take a look at the 11 o'clock advisory from Ernesto. It's moving northwest at 18, winds at 50 miles per hour. So it has definitely strengthened. It is moving across the Leeward Islands, some of the Caribbean islands. And eventually, once it gets past Puerto Rico, it will become a Category 1 storm, and then Category 2 as it moves, most likely right over or very close to Bermuda as a Cat 2. It is likely to stay off the coast of the United States, but rip current danger will be an issue for us on Saturday and Sunday. As a matter of fact, Morehead City has already issued an advisory for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for rip current danger. So if you're planning to head to the beach, do keep that in mind. You probably can't get in the water this weekend. Around here, our temperatures will stay on the mild side if we have just a few stray thunderstorms this weekend. All right, thanks, Elizabeth. One lucky fan will soon be able to celebrate the USA men's basketball's Olympic gold medal. How you can get your hands on this rare trading card.
Winning Powerball numbers 9, 22, 57, 67, 68. Powerball is 14. The multiplier is 3. As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following for you today.
Authorities are still looking for an inmate who escaped earlier this morning. They're looking for this man, Ramon Alston. Alston escaped custody while being transported to a medical appointment in Hillsborough. He is